A 12-year-old girl named Sofia entered San Mateo Hospital clutching a newborn baby tightly in her arms. Eduardo. Doctors and nurses rushed over immediately, surprised and confused at the sight of such a young girl with a newborn. But when Sofia explained the bond between her and the little one, a profound silence fell over the room. No one expected those words. Who was the newborn? And what was the truth behind his presence there? Stay with us. Every moment counts in this story. At dawn, as the hills of Bosco Cedro were tinged with light, the automatic doors of the emergency room opened. Nurse Olivia Martinez, just starting her shift and still with coffee in hand, jumped seeing a disheveled girl, tired and frightened, clutching a newborn in her arms. "Sweetheart, is everything okay?" she asked sweetly, approaching cautiously. The girl looked up, big eyes, swollen with fatigue and anxiety. They told me to come here," Sofia stammered, holding Eduardo even tighter. Olivia crouched down beside her, staying calm. "Now you're safe. Can I see the little one?" With trembling hands, Sofia slightly lifted the blanket. Eduardo's serene face, with dark skin, contrasted with the tension in the air. Olivia held her breath. Something was wrong. She gently guided her to a private room, where shortly after Dr. Luca Moretti arrived, who immediately sensed the delicacy of the moment. "Sofia," Olivia said with a calm voice, "this is Dr. Moretti. He's here to help you." Sofia hesitated, looking first at him, then at the little one in her arms. Will you keep him with you?" she asked quietly. "We just want to make sure you're both okay," the doctor replied, kneeling to her level. "Can you tell us what happened?" Sofia lowered her gaze. "Dad and his new wife went out in the car 2 days ago and didn't come back. At first I thought they'd be back soon, but then Eduardo started crying, and I didn't know how to calm him anymore. So I came here." Olivia gently took her hand. Dr. Moretti watched her in silence, struck by the composure and responsibility of this young girl. During the morning, the atmosphere in the room changed. Sofia, sitting on the edge of the bed, held Eduardo close. Her eyes were tired, lost in thought. Dr. Moretti and Olivia, standing at the doorway, understood well that this girl needed more than a medical visit. She needed support. Just before noon, Julia Ferry arrived, a social worker from Bosco Cedro Children's Services. She had handled many difficult cases in her career, but there was something about this girl that immediately touched her. After a light knock, she entered and smiled. "Hi, Sofia. My name is Julia. I'm here to make sure you and Eduardo are okay," she said in a calm and reassuring tone. Sofia held the baby tighter, almost hiding him, while Julia gently sat at the end of the bed. "You were very brave to come here alone. Do you want to tell me a bit about how it went?" "I'm here to listen." After a few moments of silence, Sofia murmured, I'm fine. But Eduardo cried so much. Dad told me they'd only be out for an hour. Then I never heard from them again. I waited, but then I was afraid the baby was sick." Julia put a hand on her shoulder. "You did the right thing, Sofia. No one expected you to handle all this alone. But now we're here." Dr. Moretti and Nurse Olivia exchanged a glance. It was clear that, at that moment, the only priority was to guarantee those two siblings a safe and welcoming place, and to do it as soon as possible. Arriving at the hospital had been a huge step. Now that everyone had understood what was happening, Sofia no longer had to face everything alone. There were people ready to help her, to protect her, to ensure that both she and Eduardo were safe. "Do you understand, Sofia?" Julia asked with a kind voice. The girl's eyes lit up with an uncertain light, a mixture of relief and insecurity. The feeling of safety seemed almost new to her, after days spent managing everything alone. "We'll find a safe place for you too," Julia continued reassuringly. Dr. Moretti approached, his voice calm and firm. "We're with you, Sofia. We'll do everything possible." For a moment, Sofia allowed herself to imagine a simpler life, a life where Eduardo could sleep peacefully, where she didn't have to worry about what to do every second. It was a distant thought, but ignited by a small spark of hope. Julia stood up, determined to take the first steps to help those two siblings. Phone calls, forms, meetings, everything would start from there. She left the room to contact the authorities and activate the necessary procedures. Olivia returned beside Sophia. "You did the hardest thing today," she whispered to her, gently stroking her hair. "You asked for help. Now let us do the rest." Sophia leaned into her calm presence, holding Eduardo gently. Around her, a sense of shared protection was created. Everyone in that hospital seemed moved by the same mission, to guarantee a serene future for those two siblings. In the following days, life at San Mateo continued at its usual pace. But in Sophia's room there was something different. That cold and white space was slowly transforming into a small refuge. Detective Marco DeSantis came often, trying to reconstruct what had happened to her father's and stepmother's car. Each visit revealed small pieces of truth, but still no certainty about where they were. Meanwhile, Nurse Olivia became Sophia's point of reference. She accompanied her to every visit, every checkup, stayed by her side with patience and affection. Every day, with small gestures, she helped Sophia lower her defenses. A shy smile, a whispered thank you, a look seeking trust. The hospital staff was deeply touched by that girl's determination. Nurse Martina decorated the walls with cheerful and colorful drawings. Nurse Serena, instead, gave her a small photo album with tender shots of Sophia and Eduardo during those days. Each photo was a small trace of the bond between them, something that no setback would ever break. Dr. Moretti, during his rounds, brought her cookies and fruit juices, hoping to bring her a bit of joy. Those simple gestures began to melt the loneliness Sophia carried inside. Her eyes, little by little, became less guarded. The walls she had erected in silence began to crumble, letting emerge the girl who wanted only one thing: a safe place to call home. One quiet evening, as the light faded and the city slowly went dark, Olivia pulled out a small book from her bag and sat beside the bed. "Would you like to listen to a story about angels, Sophia?" she asked, showing the cover with a smile. Sophia's eyes widened in surprise. Curiosity peeked out as she held Eduardo to her chest. For a moment, her face relaxed. She seemed like a girl again, just looking for comfort. "Yes, please," she whispered in a thin voice. She curled up under the covers, while Olivia began to read. Her calm voice told the story of brave angels who watched over those in need. Sophia listened in silence, her face lit by the soft light of the lamp beside the bed. With each word, her shoulders relaxed, her forehead smoothed, her breathing became regular. For those precious minutes, she was just a girl, immersed in a story, safe. When the book ended, Olivia looked at her. Sophia was looking at her baby brother with a gaze full of sweetness. "Do you believe angels really exist?" she asked quietly. Olivia moved a lock of hair from her face. "I believe so. Sometimes they don't have wings or halos, but they arrive just when we need them most." A small smile, shy and sincere, appeared on Sophia's face. Sophia allowed herself to believe that maybe she was truly surrounded by people willing to protect her, along with her brother. As Olivia watched her fall asleep with Eduardo clutched to her chest, she made a silent vow. She would do everything possible to support that brave girl and her baby brother, whatever obstacle presented itself. Sophia had already faced difficult days, but now, with an affectionate network around her, the path to serenity had finally begun. On the morning of the third day, in Sophia's room there was a different atmosphere. After days spent within the walls of San Mateo Hospital, something was about to change. Julia, the social worker, had told her that morning she would receive a very special visit. Holding Eduardo in her arms, Sophia felt a mixture of anxiety and curiosity rising inside her. Julia entered with a reassuring smile. "Sophia, there's someone I'd like you to meet," she said, gesturing toward the door. A woman with a kind face peeked into the room. Her brown eyes conveyed calm and strength, and from her woven fabric bag poked a small, colorful toy. "Hi, Sophia," she greeted sweetly. "My name is Marta Bianchi. I've heard a lot about you and your baby brother. You're two really special kids." My husband and I would be happy to welcome you to our home for a while. Sophia's eyes widened as she held Eduardo tighter. She had heard about foster care, and her mind immediately filled with questions. Would she stay with him? Would she really be safe? She had just started to trust the hospital and the people who had welcomed her. And now another person was asking her to open up again. But, can I continue to take care of him? She asked quietly, lowering her gaze to Eduardo. Mrs. Bianchi approached kindly, moving calmly. Of course, Sophia. You'll stay beside Eduardo. But we also want you to be able to simply be a girl, play, learn, have friends. At our house, you'll have your own room, a comfortable bed, a special space just for you two. And I promise you'll be loved and protected. Sophia stared at her, surprised. Words like love and safety seemed far from her reality. But the idea of a room all her own, with a crib nearby, where they could be calm without fear, seemed almost like a dream. Do you have other kids with you? She asked quietly. Mrs. Bianchi nodded with a smile. Yes, my husband and I have welcomed many kids over time. Kids who needed a moment to catch their breath, to regain trust. We believe every family can become a safe refuge for those who need warmth. Little by little, Sophia's defenses began to lower. In her mind formed the image of a bedroom with soft blankets, colorful drawings, and a crib next to her bed. A place where she and Eduardo could finally feel safe. Julia, watching the girl's gaze change, gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Mrs. Bianchi and her family have helped many kids. They'll take care of you. Bianchi's face lit up with joy, while Julia let out a sigh of relief. Though he was in serious condition in a coma for quite some time, but now he's woken up. He's improving and has already asked about you too. As soon as he's strong enough, he'll come looking for you. A wave of emotions overwhelmed Sophia. Amazement, relief, emotion. She clutched the album in her hands, almost looking for a foothold. Does that mean he'll really come back? Dr. Moretti nodded. Yes, your father never forgot you. And as soon as he can, he'll come get you. The tension seemed to dissolve little by little, but a thought emerged deep in Sophia's heart. Looking at Eduardo, she asked quietly, and if one day I can't always be near him, will he remember me? Will he remember how much I love him? The doctor's gaze became gentle. Of course he will. You're his sister, and the love you're giving him will stay with him forever. A tear ran down her cheek, which she quickly wiped away. Dr. Moretti placed a hand on her shoulder. Important people leave a mark inside us that never goes away. You and Eduardo are united by something nothing can break. In that instant, Olivia entered the room with a soft blanket embroidered with stars and moons. This is for Eduardo, she said sweetly. A special thought for when you go home. Then she leaned over Sophia. And remember, here, at the hospital, you'll always have a family. Whatever happens. Sophia's heart filled with gratitude. The people who had welcomed her during those difficult days had become an improvised family, but a real one. They had given her what she needed most. Hope, protection, affection. That night, as Sophia lay down beside Eduardo, she dreamed of the future. A future in Mrs. Bianchi's house, full of light and colors, with a flowering garden, a swing under a large tree, and a room all their own where they could laugh, play, and build new memories. Different memories, finally free from fear. She slowly reached out her hand to feel her baby brother's regular heartbeat. I love you, Eduardo, she whispered. It was a promise. Whatever happened, she would always be there for him. A few days later, as Sophia and Eduardo were preparing for their temporary move to Mrs. Bianchi's house, Julia entered the room with a new emotion in her eyes. Sophia, there's someone who wants to see you. The door opened slowly. A tired man with a marked face but bright gaze entered the room. It was her father. Sophia jumped up. For a moment the world stopped. Dad! Sophia! Arms sought each other, found each other. It was a long embrace, trembling, full of silence and tears. Then the man leaned toward Eduardo, who slept peacefully in the crib. He gently touched his cheek. I thought about you every day, even when I couldn't speak, even when everything seemed lost. Julia, moved, turned to Nurse Olivia and whispered to her, "The family has reunited." That evening, Sophia was no longer just a strong girl who had protected her baby brother. She was a daughter who had found her dad again, and a sister who knew that, finally, everything would be okay.